All right, folks, let me tell you about Rome, back when it still thought it was a republic. See, before emperors started strutting around like they owned the place, Rome prided itself on being ruled by the Senate and the people. At least that was the story they told themselves. In reality, the whole system was a glorified old boys club. A handful of rich families made the big decisions, and everyone else just had to roll with it. But here's the thing. Rome wasn't some cozy little city-state anymore. It had stretched its borders across the Mediterranean, scooping up land and wealth like a kid in a candy store. Problem was, all that expansion made the cracks in the system harder to ignore. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer, and if you wanted power, you had to fight for it. Sometimes literally. That's where Julius Caesar comes in. Now, Caesar wasn't born a nobody. He had the right family name, the right connections, but he wasn't sitting pretty in luxury either. He had ambition, the dangerous kind, the kind that didn't stop, the kind that made other politicians very, very nervous. Because in Rome, if you got too powerful, you weren't just making friends. You were making targets out of yourself. Caesar didn't start at the top. He worked his way up, first as a lawyer, then as a soldier, then as a politician who knew exactly how to win a crowd. He was charming, he was ruthless, and he knew how to turn favors into power. His big break? Teaming up with two of the most powerful men in Rome, Crassus, the richest guy in town, and Pompey, Rome's star general. Together they formed the first Triumvirate, basically a power-sharing deal where they helped each other climb the ranks while pretending the Senate still mattered. And while Crassus was off trying to prove he was more than just a fat wallet, spoiler, he wasn't, and Pompey was basking in his own glory, Caesar was busy making himself a legend. He took command in Gaul, modern-day France, and spent nearly a decade conquering, scheming, and turning himself into Rome's most famous general. His men loved him. The people loved him. And that was a problem. Because the Senate did not love him. Now here's where things get messy. While Caesar was out winning battles, Pompey and the Senate were back in Rome getting real antsy about how much power he had. So they hit him with an order. Come back to Rome, but leave your army at the border. And Caesar? Yeah, he didn't do that. Instead, in 49 BCE, he did something no Roman general was supposed to do. He marched his army across the Rubicon River, heading straight for Rome. It was an act of war against the Senate, and he knew it. According to legend, he said, Alia iacta est, the die is cast. No turning back now. Pompey and his allies ran for it, and what followed was a full-blown civil war. Caesar chased Pompey down to Egypt, where the poor guy got stabbed to death before he even had a chance to fight back. And the Egyptians? They proudly presented his severed head to Caesar like a trophy. Not exactly the welcome he was expecting. With Pompey gone, Caesar cleaned up the rest of his enemies, marched back to Rome, and declared himself dictator for life. And that's when the knives came out. See, Rome didn't mind a strong leader so long as he pretended the Senate still mattered. But dictator for life, that was a step too far. A group of senators, including Brutus and Cassius, guys who had once been on Caesar's side, decided it was time for him to go. And on March 15th, 44 BCE, the infamous Ides of March, they ambushed him in the Senate chamber and stabbed him 23 times. According to legend, Caesar looked at Brutus and said, "Et tu, Brute?" But let's be real. If you just got jumped by a mob with knives, you're probably not making dramatic one-liners. More likely, he just went down in shock. But here's the twist. Killing Caesar didn't save the Republic. In fact, it did the exact opposite. His death threw Rome into another civil war, and within a few years, his adopted heir Octavian, better known as Augustus, took over. The Republic, officially dead. The Empire, just getting started. So was Caesar a hero, a tyrant, a genius, a fool? Depends on who you ask. His enemies said he was power-hungry. His supporters said he saved Rome from corrupt politicians. Either way, the guy changed history forever. And Rome, well, Rome never went back to the way things were. The Republic had been on borrowed time long before Caesar showed up. He just pushed it over the edge. And that, folks, is how Rome's Republic became Rome's empire.